Can I ask you about a crazy story in the book?
Sure. Yeah.
You have this one story about when you first got to LA and you were supposed to do a photo shoot for a teen magazine.
Yeah.
You show up on the wrong day.
Yeah.
What happens?
So I was supposed to do this photo shoot for one of the teen magazines. Yeah. We have the Tiger Beats and the J14s and the Pop Stars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they're weird photo shoots anyway. You have to sit there and like have a rose and like have like a chocolate box.
Yeah.
And be like, just like.
Got it.
And also it's like the sacrosanct sort of smile that you're supposed to do. Like it's sort of semi-religious. It's like a brand of photography for children's magazines. And those are the magazines you read when you're at the grocery store. So I go to do one of these photo shoots, and it happens at this sort of weird, like a big house, like in the valley in LA.
You're with your mom.
And I'm with my mom, and we're driving,
Yeah.
and we get to this house, and this guy shows up, and he has a little clipboard, and he's like, "Why are you here?" And we're here for the shoot. Yeah. And mom was, the man with the clipboard was like, "No, you're not." And we're like, "I don't understand that." And so he took my mother back into the house. He said, "I have to stay in the car." He goes inside the house, and it's just dicks on the wall. Just so many dicks. It's like they're comparing dicks, dick sizes, dicks. Because they shoot gay porn at this house.
Got it.
For a gay porn magazine when they're not shooting, as I'm going to say again, the children's magazines, photo shoots.
This is so wild.
Before the conspiracy theorists jump out of the woodwork,
right?
And I have to.
Yeah, you're about to get a call from your publicist and all that stuff. Yeah.
Very separate. I wasn't supposed to be there.
Okay, got it.
They're very separate worlds.
Yeah.
And then I went to the photo shoot the next day, and it was a teeny bopper photo shoot. And all the dicks were gone.
All the photos
The
of the dicks
furniture
were
was all
gone.
rearranged back in.
Okay.
Listen, young millennial women, I see you. You clicked on this link because you fell in love with Avan Jogia when you were 12 and you watched him on Victorious. And even though Avan is engaged to Halsey now and officially off the market, you are here for some of his sultry internet boyfriend energy. But I am sorry to disappoint you, because if you think we're gonna do some dumb bit where, I don't know, I get him to speak sexy French phrases directly into the camera, well, guess what? It's not gonna happen.
Je dose avec un protégé dent.
And not just because that bit didn't work. We just had too much real shit to talk about, okay? Because I read Avan's new book, Autopsy of an Ex-Teen Heartthrob, and it is a fascinating examination of drugs, sex, fame, and nostalgia. So we sat down to talk about all of that, and also why putting kids in front of the camera might not be a great idea. Now be warned, it's gonna get dark, but I learned a lot. Or as they say in French, pardonne-moi, quel est le code de toilette?
Hurry right away, no delay, stop today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad.
I don't know if you look at these Instagram nostalgia accounts. It'll be at Christmas in the 90s or whatever, and it'll be all these photos from the 90s or early 2000s with music, and it'll just be the song will be Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle.
Yeah.
And the comment section will be
and it'll be
this was music.
This was music. It'll be a photos of lockers or jellies, sandals, just these sort of moments, these aggressive flashes of nostalgia.
Yeah.
That and as a person who was around for a lot of them, it does. You're like, oh, I remember that. I remember when you used to throw the thing onto in the ceiling, the hand, and it would stick. Yeah.
And what is profoundly depressing is the top comment that'll be pinned will always be, with the most upvotes, will be this is when we were a real country.
It's the heroin of yesterday. It's this addicted to nostalgia as a sedative.
Yes.
And I feel like I've been able to experience it more than anybody else just because I represent generationally a cozy, warm cup of tea for a lot of kids who grew up with me, who are not kids anymore. They're in their 20s at rallies, getting their heads bashed in. You know what I mean? They're fighting. The world is happening to them.
Correct. Yeah.
As it has happened to me, and I think we sort of are able to share in that sort of disappointment, because when I was a kid on the show shooting it, and they were kids watching it. There was sort of a hope of how this was all going to shake out. And I think we have to deal with the reality of what it actually is.
There's a couple poems, Slime Mouth is one of them, but you say, don't idolize your childhood. Don't succumb to the sedative of nostalgia. You talk about people pulling up at you on in a CVS parking lot, rolling their window down and kind of just like yelling things at you. You represented something to me way back when. And then they just drive off.
They drive off.
Is Slime Mouth directed at those people? Is that...
Oh yeah, this whole book I think is a conversation between me and the audience, the people who enjoyed the show and enjoy me as an entity.
Yeah.
And whatever the sort of like teen heartthrob fantasy idolization thing that was sold to them in a real way. And I was saying this the other day. It's like it's a toxic sale, but I also would have liked to have been the thing that I was presented as, because what I actually was like insecure, coming from poverty, coming from like a lower class family, coming from Canada. My mother, was dealing with sickness. My life was very real.
Yeah.
And I sort of was presented as a fantasy to kids.
There's something so powerful in the beginning of the book. You talk about, I arrive in LA. You are quite literally, you're plucked into stardom. And then simultaneously, mom is going back to Canada because she has ovarian cancer. And the two sides of that coin is just like...
Yeah, it's weird to have those two
would have been
things...
so just like heart-wrenching.
Yeah, happened at the same time. And I think that's the erasure of humanity is what allows for to idol worship to exist. Because also the job of the teen idol is to be able to be projected upon. Like it's sort of an erasure of my personality as well. It's like it's better if I'm just here and I speak to camera and no one understands what I'm saying. And it's like, you know what I mean? It's sort of this attractive guy who you can project your preferred personality onto. Yeah. Rather than this sort of neurotic, misanthropic, grumpy guy that I actually am.
There's this one line that still stays. You're pretty, we've hung out for like 6 minutes. You're a pretty like upbeat, lovely guy.
Oh yeah. But this is just like it's like like when you listen to circus music.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're like dun 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 dun, but like there's this sort of underlining like not this is not okay and this is gonna be bad. Yeah. That's what I feel.
Oh, that's what it was like being in Victorious and living during that period of time in your life.
Oh, just everything. Like I'm always constantly like and it's like
damn,
I feel like
even
the
now
walls.
in your 30s.
Yeah.
Fuck, bro.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Well, you read the book. I just wrote.
No. It's heavy. But there was this line that stuck with me that I really loved, where you talked about, "Hey, I get it. I was this moment in time in your life. You would watch me on TV, and you were at home, and you had to babysit your little brother." Yeah. And sometimes I feel when people see even some of my work that they saw when they were in college or when they were teenagers, you represent a simpler time in their life. Yeah. And it's actually not even the art itself that meant something to them.
It's a moment in time.
It was just the simplicity of that moment. And maybe the chaos of the present of their life in adulthood. It's like, yeah, man, you don't feel a certain way about me. No. You just have 2 DUIs and a divorce.
Yeah.
Your life, and you're living through it, right?
Your life got more complicated.
And it just got more complicated and more real.
Yeah, I say that a lot of these kids, it's like your life got complicated after you were a child and watching this show and you were able to be in this sort of nostalgic, glowing, warm time in your life. And then I also grew up, and we both had life happen to us. Yeah. I feel like that for me personally, I think that's sort of how I'm able to reconnect, I guess, with a lot of these kids. Yeah. We can be on the same page again for the first time.
Do you resent being this little toy in their childhood shoebox?
No, I think it's. I mean, like I said, like I was a serious kid when I was like 15, 16. Yeah. I was just a serious kid. I wanted what I was doing to be serious and have meaning. And I couldn't find it really shooting a kid's show. I was like, the art itself doesn't have any meaning to me. I'm not getting purpose out of this. Yeah. But what gave me purpose was thinking 2 things. One, I was an escape. I was the toy for these kids. That they could be like, wow, like look how perfect life can be, and my life might be shit and terrible, and you know I'm getting bullied in school, but like I can flick on the television and look, here are my friends, and they all like me. Yeah. And then the second thing was being able to be as a brown person, just on television and not being seen as like a cool character.
Yeah.
So as a young man, I was looking for seriousness, looking for purpose for what I was doing in my art.
Yeah.
And not finding it in the material because we're doing a Nickelodeon show.
Yeah.
So I needed purpose. The purpose came to me in what it was affecting and how it was affecting kids.
Did that happen after you leave the show? Did you get that?
No, I knew that immediately.
Really?
Because I was immediately frustrated.
Oh, shit.
And I almost got fired off the show. Yeah, the first year I almost got fired off the show because I wasn't good at the musical timing. Talk about comedy. I wasn't good at like the multi-camera.
Really?
I was like acting. I was like.
You were dropped.
I was doing. I was doing like all this internal work on a multi-camera show, and they were like, "No, pick it up, pick it up. You gotta hit your cues." You know what I mean?
You're going full method.
Yeah, they're like, "No, this music. What are you talking about?"
That's.
I'm like, "No, but I'm playing the actor on the show."
Got it.
And I'm like, "You're like."
But your comedy's actually gotten better because you drop.
Yeah.
You're actually your TikToks are very dark and very funny.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, you dropped this TikTok back in 2020.
Yes.
Okay, goes super viral.
Yeah.
The music is OMC's How Bizarre. Then the text goes, which you don't remember, when you don't remember the plot line to a single victorious episode, but you remember going out partying every night. What did your parents say when they saw that?
I think, well, because my parents, bless, I was Canadian, so I was like, at the time I was 18 or 19 years old, and they're like, that's the time where you go out and you're legal drinking age and you go and you party, right?
Yeah.
For them, they were like, what? And for America, I think it's like it's a puritanical sort of place, right? And
sure.
And they're like equal parts, like everyone should be, absolutely professional and cold sober, but also colleges for binge drinking. So they don't have there's no middle. They don't understand. So and I was
wait. Are you saying Canadians are more lax when it comes to?
Oh yeah, because we don't have all the what's the word I'm looking for, the sort of puritanical
Judeo-Christian puritanical shackles.
Shackles.
Gotcha.
So we don't lose our mind.
I'm going to cross-check this statement real quick. Scott, our producer who grew up in Ottawa, is this true? You were getting wet and wild and crazy and...
Drinking age is 19.
Yeah.
So I think that plays into that a little.
Oh, it checks out. Okay.
Yeah, because we have it a little bit earlier.
BC.
Yeah, 18 in BC. We have drinking a little bit earlier. But anyway, to sort of get to your point, which is that this TikTok was viral.
Yes.
And I think it's because people were curious about the sort of dual life, right?
Yeah.
Their experience with me on the show and the idea of there being a secondary experience that are trying to coalesce these very disparate
They were
ideas.
dialed into every plot line of season 2, episode 6. And
Absolutely.
You were
and I was
"Do
like,
not remember."
I am out at clubs. I am outside.
Yeah. You're really outside.
Yeah, I'm really outside.
Every other poem in this book, you're either drunk or high.
Yeah.
How did you accomplish so much being blasted out of your mind?
Yeah, well, listen, I think a lot of my observations of myself come in those moments. I think I see myself a little bit more honestly in those moments. And then every third poem, as you'll find, is about wanting to kill myself.
Yeah.
So, pretty fun stuff. Go get yourself a book.
It's very heavy. No, the book is legitimately incredible. It's great.
Yeah,
There's
thanks, man.
page 11. You talk about confidence. I was an incredibly confident child, annoyingly so, by all accounts. It powered everything I did. I was so sure I was going to be an actor and that I would be a writer and director and that I deserved to. If you will forgive me, put my fucking dreams in action. Why didn't you go the normal path of confident children and just become a bully?
Yeah, see, that would have been the move.
No, but
politician.
Or politician. But man, I'm reading this and I go, how did you have the internal confidence at that age? You're growing up in Canada, biracial,
Already shouldn't be confident. Growing up in Canada, your producer knows.
Sure. But to write this and you get how crazy it is. You're like, forgive me for even believing this, but I thought
Yeah.
I could really do this.
Yeah.
What made you think that you could manifest your own dreams that way? It's a really powerful thing to
Yeah,
say.
that's the big question, right? Because now, as the kind of bravery of naivete is an interesting thing, and now that I have a bunch of baggage and luggage with me. I'm not a young man. It's not the naivete of being a young man. It's now I have I know too much, and I have to re-find and reclaim bravery as an older person. As that's something that has to happen to you again once the sort of that initial power wears off. You have to sort of reclaim and re-find your bravery, and I think that
you had this poem about
hard.
kind of the bravery of failure.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah, the idea of
like
I don't think it's very. I used to really admire young and confident people when I was one. I'm like, yeah, this is great. This is wow. I know what I want. I know what I want to do with my life. I know immediately how to get it done, and I want to do it. Now I have less. To be brave once you know everything, and to maneuver around all of the knowledge of what it feels like to fail, to get hurt, to be in love, to not be in love, to want success and not get it. Once you have ambition and have that ambition fail, once you are able to find bravery again after working around all that stuff, that to me is way more impressive. That's the mark of a truly brave person. It's like a 47-year-old guy who was, had an accounting job for 20 years, and then he got fired. And he did the really brave thing of like, I'm going to make a woodworking, I'm going to start building chairs, and I'm going to build a chair business, and his chair business, kicks off. That's like a brave thing.
You also talked about kind of the bravery in maintaining grace, even in the minutia of the small act of holding a door open and all that stuff. Was there something that you notice? I feel this way sometimes when I go on set, and I look at everything that goes into building a small set or even a large set. From the sandbags that go on that C-stand to the lights and the grips, was that something you were referring to? This is the thing about poetry. There's so much subtext that maybe I'm
this is the great thing.
I could be wrong.
You can infer. I think with that poem, for me, it was just like, I think that I live around a bunch of people in living in LA as long as I have. I have lived around a bunch of people who are always so grateful for what's happened to them, and they should be, and they're graceful. Actually, they're really easy to talk to, because life has worked out for them, and so they're easy to talk to. They're not stressed. And then the people who I grew up with. Had life happen to them, and the ones who are able to find grace within the sort of context of living, not having things work out, having worked a 12.5-hour a day for nothing back, and working for these large entities that don't care about their personhood, and they still have the ability to have grace and explain to their children why the sun rises and falls when they might lose their house. I think that, to me,
that was a really beautiful line.
That's grace.
Yeah, that was really beautiful.
It's easy to have grace when you're like, I've diversified my portfolio.
Sure.
I've got 3 hours a day to meditate.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
That's not grace.
Is there a part of you that, and the reason why you do film stuff, you do TV stuff, the reason why I wanted to sit down with you for the book stuff is I feel, even in my own career, you feel pigeonholed at times.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you're this thing.
Absolutely.
And did you ever resent the feeling of being just on-air talent that is only to be seen on one side of the screen, and not your ability to write, your ability to articulate emotion with real pathos and understand character in a deep way?
I think it's hard. Yeah, I just think it's hard for people to break out of their pattern of thinking, and it's really hard when what their pattern of thinking has been the sort of character that has been projected onto them by a large company that had nothing to do with me. Their projected version of me is this sort of teen heartthrob guy.
Yeah.
And so now I have to work backwards from that and try to work myself out of that particular pigeonhole.
Yeah.
And then now, and that's really hard to be like, hey, I'm also a legitimate writer, and I direct
This is my
films.
second book.
Yeah, I'm like,
I've directed a feature. Yeah.
Like,
and written the feature.
Yeah, like it's hard to try to break that initial, like I'm sure you had the same experience in your life. It's like how you permeated, and this is how it is in life for actors and people who make stuff, is how the public experiences you at first when you first penetrate that sort of public consciousness.
Yeah.
And then you do a bunch of stuff that doesn't really break.
Totally.
In the same way.
Yeah.
That's just life. And then it'll happen again.
Yeah.
And you'll, whatever that will be with the new, you break the sound barrier of the incessant, unending noise that how can anything
that is
get
digital
through?
media. Yeah, sure.
There's just nothing can penetrate in this sound room. And then you try to, so it's my whole thing is trying to figure out what I want to have be my next thing that penetrates.
Something you do that's so awesome in the book too is your ability to kind of analyze what the television industry is and kind of the kids' TV pipeline. Mm-hmm. You're a child star in Nickelodeon, you're part of this well-established franchise. There's this system, and I don't know if they, me and Scott, we were talking about this yesterday as we were prepping for the interview. We were like, is there like a menu that they give you where they go, okay, you do kids show, teen pop star, A24 movie. If it doesn't work out, OnlyFans foot model.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually you've nailed it. I've got a 5 on WikiFeet.
Sure. Oh, you do?
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, if this book doesn't do well, I'm on the WikiFeed. I'm getting to that point.
You got a couple poems, by the way, about that get pretty dark about where this thing could go.
Oh yeah, always. No, because I think that's the fear that we all have.
So from the beginning, were you skeptical of that pipeline? Were you aware of that pipeline?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I bucked it also very early, and almost to my detriment. Because there was a couple stages where there's romantic comedies and stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
That I was just as soon as I was off of Nickelodeon, I was like, and also I would like to say, and not to be, because this is the world of DEI.
Okay.
Being erased and all this sort of stuff going on.
Sure.
But when I got out of Victorious, the show, there wasn't an industry waiting for me. The diversity hadn't really permeated I was still a strange option as the lead guy. I had done some work on the show to change that trajectory.
Yeah.
But I wasn't it wasn't like I got off the show and it was there was the Shia LaBeouf path for me that didn't exist.
Did you obviously our careers are very different, but did you deal with what I dealt with in a different way, which was I see myself this way. You don't see me this way.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
right.
there's this
disconnect,
and there is this gap between these two things.
Yeah,
and sometimes that gap is huge,
massive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, and it's especially in those early days, because again, I've been doing this for a long time, doing this for 17 years. In those early days, they were well, as a brown person, you serve this in the story, and then they would try to have me do that, and then they would be like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted it a little bit,
sure.
a different version of that. And so when I got off the show, there wasn't even parts. If I was going to be, I had to be ethnically ambiguous. There wasn't even really parts for brown guys.
Oh wow.
So I had
I mean, you literally had to almost hide that part of your heritage.
Well, yeah, there was no place for it, especially, and then.
You know how I became familiar with you? This is how you're a part of my life.
Yeah.
I became familiar with you because you did some interviews and music with your brother.
Yeah.
And that's how.
That's so funny.
Well, because my algorithm is South Asian art and artists.
Yeah, of course.
And what's interesting is the time that I've spent now touring in the UK. I would call it just kind of brown diaspora talent.
Yeah, that's right.
It's very tight-knit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what Riz and Dev and Daniel Kaluuya and what Michaela Cole, all that cohort of talent kind of came up together.
Yeah.
But they were able to celebrate their identity in a way that I didn't experience in the States.
No. In America, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't have that.
You've gotten a chance to travel more, and I can sense that some of your travels is that expressed in the writing? Like, did it shape the way you look at your career? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to. I love the UK. My father's English, and I love London, and I love the way that we're expressed. I mean, the people of color.
Yeah.
Expressed in British media. Actually, I think it's awesome.
No, South Asians have been there a very long time.
For time. Yeah.
I was talking to Riz Ahmed about this, and he was like, and I've been spending more time there, and he goes, it's like Harlem for us.
Yeah.
If you're black and you go to Harlem, your history is
around.
Is literally etched into the performing arts
Absolutely.
buildings and the culture.
You have
and
Langston
the arts.
Hughes. That's one of my favorite poets of all time. Since we're talking poets,
Yeah.
You have Langston Hughes. You have the Harlem Renaissance. It's like etched into the very like.
Yes.
And you know, with South Asian people in the UK, and especially in London and even the Midlands, where my family's from, where we're part of the habitat. We're part of the biology of the place. And when I write, specifically actually now that I'm writing screenplays more, I'm really interested in that part, specifically my dad's childhood. You know, in the late '70s, mid '80s.
Wow!
Like what an interesting time in the diaspora's history.
Yeah,
so fascinating.
Yeah, there was an opening kind of passage in this book that still haunts me and stays with me. You talk about this image of, you were like, I'm 17 years old and I'm running towards fire.
Yeah.
What I still don't know what that. What were you running towards? Self-destruction? Were you running from something?
I think.
What was this running towards fire?
Yeah, I think for that poem, and I think it's just like I felt like you have to. The heat. Life gets hard, and it's in front of you, and you have options. You can stay out of the heat of life and the fire, or you can run right at it. And I think as a child, I ran at it without even knowing what I was doing. And then I got burnt, and I got out of the fire, and I was like, that was intense. And so I think, but then I went back in.
Yeah.
And then I went back in and went back in and went back in. And so I think that for me is what that represents.
Were you trying to hurt yourself, or were you trying to test the limits of how far you could go?
Yeah, I think for me, like, it was naivete and curiosity. I think to your 20s is for trying to figure out about everything.
Yeah.
And then your 30s is removing all the stuff that you tried and you didn't like.
Yeah.
And then being honest about what you actually liked. Like I took up sailing.
Okay.
In my 20s, because I was like, I want to know how to do rich white guy stuff. Like I'm going to sail.
Got it. You saw like a J. Crew catalog.
Absolutely, I'm going to sail. I'm
okay.
going to be an equestrian.
Yeah.
Like I got into all this stuff. None of it stuck because I just didn't. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Writing stuck. I'm the biggest hermit in the world. I don't go out and do anything. I go to restaurants with my family.
Yeah.
That's what I do now. You know what I mean?
Legitimate.
So my 20s were just me exploring life, and then it's about cutting out what doesn't actually resonate with you.
I want to here. Let me do this last one. Whew, bro. Yeah, page 220 and page 221. I'm on set getting yelled at. Yeah, man, it's very heavy and dark, and obviously, I'm sure you're alluding this as a reference to Dan Schneider. And you have this line that says, never give someone who was bullied in high school power. And it just describes you getting yelled at and berated while your paycheck is dangled over your head. How have you processed that almost 17 years later now?
Well, I think like I've always thought the two things can be true at the same time. Like, when I thought about this story, I thought of myself as an adult the whole time I was
in that moment.
Of the whole time I was shooting the show, the whole time I've ever been a kid. I never really felt like a kid. I felt like an adult my whole life. But in that moment, I felt like a child. And I remember feeling like a child at the time. And I think that for me was the sort of like the lights on moment of like that there was a responsibility to know that even though we're all professionals and the people that you've hired, these kids that you've hired, are adults and they talk like adults and they walk like adults, but they're not adults.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I feel like I was aware that they weren't really aware that we were not adults and we were kids, in fact. And again, like I said, like I think two things can be true at the same time, and I think you know this because you do this. It's a really high pressure job.
Totally.
What we do.
Yeah.
You know, you want to deliver, you want to do the best job you can, you have to deliver. And so the reason going into the respect thing is I have a lot of respect because it prepped me for an industry that wasn't when I wasn't a kid, it wasn't like it was going to be more forgiving. It was going to get less forgiving.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it trains you up. And I think there is like a soft glove approach to everything now. And actually some things are hard and they take a hard. They take a real strength to be able to do, you know, to be great at, to be really good at. So I think it prepped me in that way. But
I'm reading this.
yeah.
What I wanted to ask you was, is that whole system exploitive in and of itself? You have grown adults making children do things that are somewhat obtuse, obtuse at best, inappropriate at worst, that we come to find out. I was talking to another producer on the show, and he wanted me to ask you, he just goes, is making kids famous in and of itself a form of child abuse?
I think that's an interesting question. I think that's maybe the question.
Yeah.
And I think that it's only getting worse, not getting better.
Like adults can't
No.
properly handle it.
No, yeah. I think it's actually getting worse. I think it is. It's not child abuse in a clinical way, and like a clinical way or a more understood way, but I think it's actually, I don't think there's enough education for someone who's saying yes to this sort of thing. And when, I don't think you can, there's no guideline for being famous. I think Kurt Cobain said that, actually. There's certainly no roadmap for a child.
Yeah.
But these are the problems of yesterday. Because this system is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. Kids television, stars that are kids, that doesn't exist anymore. What is even worse and more nefarious to me now is Instagram kids, celebrity Instagram kids, completely unregulated. They're being pushed to be in front of a camera for their parents to make millions of dollars on Instagram, doing reels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The family TikTok stuff, mommy TikTok, these children who have no choice and are not choosing to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Having their personhood stamped into the tapestry of our society.
Yeah.
Say one of those kids, like, and this is sort of a small thing, but say one of those kids really wanted to be like a very cool, like, I don't know, like a DJ that like covers their face or something like that.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
But he's a nasty digital footprint of like doing like putting on bow ties and like having a cowboy hat and like yodeling and shit.
Sure.
That are you know, that was
Yeah.
a decision was made for him when he was 6 years old by his mother or father.
Yeah.
You've completely ruined that child's ability to dictate for themselves how they want their life to go and who they want to be as a person. And so I think that as hard as it was and how unregulated and really not thoughtful my era of children's television was and teen idol worship was, I think this is we're like dealing on a magnitude that is unimaginable, and I don't know how you could ever regulate.
It's funny, you're almost describing this. You're like, I was a kid's film star.
Yeah.
I was in the motion picture.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm talking about.
You were the last one to
Last
make it through this
generation.
like tiny little hole.
Absolutely, and
Yeah,
also
and it's
I
a new
wanted to be
reality.
there to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be there. I wanted to be an actor. So at least there's like a 50% in arriving at the table. There is a 50% desire on my side.
Yeah.
I like with these kids on Instagram who are just being exploited for comedy, their worst moments, their tantrums,
Right.
being exploited for like their human personhood. Like it's not like they're doing a bit. A lot of these kids. Some kids are just like, I'm frustrated and I'm angry and I drop my ice cream and I'm crying.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm like scroll.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like, I'm like You know,
But it's like etched in amber.
it's just etched in their legacy of their personhood. It's absolutely
Yeah.
etched in there forever.
Did you watch that doc and have any? Did you reprocess anything?
Yeah, when I watched it, I was like, I don't know. There's this frustration that I have about the media in general, where it's gossip mongering and tragedy porn masquerading as sympathy.
Oh yeah, bro.
You know?
Holy shit.
Like I think the lie that we're telling ourselves is we're like, oh, we really care about those kids, and wow, like it's so glad that more is being said about what happened to kids in these different scenarios. But what is actually happening is this sort of tragedy porn where yet again there's a company exploiting the tragedy of people, and then also the audience doesn't get to learn more empathy. What they actually learn is the dirty little thing that they get to sort of, it's like a piece of pop culture titillation.
Yeah.
You know? They don't actually care. It's gossip mongering masquerading as sympathy. It's not real sympathy. And so I'm untrusting of the sort of clickbaity performance of that sort of thing. Because what it is it's just preying on that.
Too.
Yeah, it's just preying on false sympathy.
Scott, I think, did we lift it? Can you give me the page of that? Like it was like, it's called I think it's called Voyeur. It was the poem.
Oh, Voyeur.
That page 95.
Page 95. Man, I mean, just to like.
I should have put a table of context in this content in this book, right? Because my publicist was
Bro, how wild is this? You have Voyeur and then the sex joke during the J14 interview back to back. But wait, let's not. I don't want to lose this thread because what you're talking about is, which I think is really interesting. And tell me if I'm not picking up what you're putting down. What you're saying is you're like, and correct me if I'm wrong. Hey, all of you guys are trying to assign this righteous moral indignation at this bad thing that happened, but I don't think you are doing that with the intention to make the present any better or the future any better, or to even enact or seek out justice for what happened then.
Yeah.
You talk about this in Voyeur, you know, as you partake in this non-consensual masturbation of watching us fail. Freak, and who are you to watch? It's not just us naked you want to see. You want to see our tragedy, our pain. You sadist. You love to watch. Just wait until it's you. Just wait until they take your search history and use it against you. Just wait until they gather up all your sins too. That may not be in reference to what we were just talking about with your experience at the show, but that idea of the joy and the pleasure.
Yeah. And you're dealing with you're sort of like you're constantly watching sort of gleeful pleasure being just barely contained behind sympathy. And again, it's like, you know, we got to sell magazines. You have to have people click on YouTube videos. It's important. It's the commerce. You know, it's important. But I find all of this to be re-traumatizing for the people who went through it. I would imagine, and also just it's exploitative.
What message do you think you're trying to send through that poem, Voyeur? For me, I literally wrote down at the end of it, I just wrote, civilians are now celebrities, and this celebrity shit is cooked.
Yeah.
That's how it made me feel.
Yeah. Well, listen, for me, I feel like as a celebrity, and I actually get the joy of being sort of like not big enough that I am a full participant. Like I'm not like a huge celebrity, but I'm not outside of it enough. I'm outside of it enough to be able to be an observer. And I feel like the whole celebrity thing is like having a bunch of currency in a country whose GDP is like plummeting.
Sure.
You know, it's like, great. What are we supposed to do?
What am I going to do with all these ringgits?
Exactly.
Whatever this currency
these
is.
Dutch francs that I have. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make, you know, it doesn't, it's a currency that I don't think has value. And I felt that way for a number of years. And so, which is why.
How long have you felt that way?
Oh, I think probably since 2019. I think that celebrity has been on a kind of a steady decline since 2019.
Wow, you hit this realization even pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I think it's got something to do with the absurdity of a Trump presidency, the absurdity of a television personality. It's the idiocracy aspect of life. It's like, well, if that's possible, then what has value? What is class? Right. What is worth? The whole concept of celebrity, although it's wrong, is to have people to look up to that you're like, wow, look at that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I admire their talent. I admire their class, their grace. I admire the way that they hold themselves, and I admire how honest they are.
Yeah.
All of that disappeared. And so,
can I ask you a very blunt question? You obviously are a public figure. You are engaged to a very public figure as well.
Sure.
I just wrote this. I'm like, after reading the book, I just wrote down, Avan, if these are your dreams, are you saying it's not worth it?
Yeah, it's a good question.
And I don't have the answer to that.
I think that what I'm saying is that in a world where I think celebrity is a dying concept, and I think fame is completely toxic, and so without value, I think the only thing to do is to make things and create things that you're proud of. And fame is a vehicle for as a delivery system, sure. The only advantage I can see to fame is that it's a delivery system, so that this book that I worked really hard on can get to people that might be interested. And I'm a radical, the idea of being radically niche. I don't need everybody. I don't need everybody's to be.
Don't say this. Your agent.
Yeah,
they're gonna hate
my
this.
boss is on the phone. It's like,
What are you
jeez,
talking about?
I don't need anybody. I don't need everyone to like me. I don't need everyone to even interact with my work. But what I do need is that to find my people who do enjoy that, and it be enough people that that I can have an ongoing conversation with my audience. So they read Mixed Feelings, and so then we had that was a conversation that we had, and then this is the next conversation we had.
I think Mixed Feelings was just a great way for you to really stand 10 toes down, and for you to process your identity and place in the world, and start there.
Yeah,
start
absolutely.
the conversation there.
No, I've actually accidentally been doing autobiographies.
Yeah.
Because I think Mixed Feelings is about my life growing up in Vancouver, growing up in a mixed household, growing up Indian, trying to enter the film industry as an Indian person or brown person, and then we stop, and then this book picks up for whatever is my 20s, and there's nothing worse and more conceited and self-involved than doing autobiographies.
Sure.
That's
but
a waste.
But I want to say it is a waste. But actually, man, there's something really. You talk about being on Instagram, and we watched this 4-year-old kid's worst moment. Yeah. And you're like, that's just a piece of content for all of us. Yeah. This private moment. Yes. For this poor preschooler.
Developmental moment.
Yeah. And like
just into the meat grinder. Just like throw it in there, and out comes this,
But you've clearly had ups and downs, and I think there's something powerful about you going through these painful moments. And maybe let me set this up for you as a question. When in Voyeur you write, what a fun time to watch your teen idol fall. What fun to watch their flaws and their feelings. As someone who has gone through that, and now there's going to be an entire generation of kids where their worst moments are etched into amber on the internet. Yeah. What do you say? What would you say to them after going through something like that?
I think that the democratization of that experience between that there's a thing only happened to celebrities for a long time, and now it's happening to everybody.
Yeah. Costco Karen.
Yeah, like it's
person has meltdown.
Yeah,
at a Waffle
it's
House.
now you have to. I think that you have to take your, and this is so like cliche, but you have to take a step back and not see yourself as a cardboard cutout of yourself. You are a full human being.
Yeah.
You have good moments, you have bad moments, you have moments that you were short and moments that you had the grace for people. I think headlines is one of the things that really, as a poem, that really exemplified that for me. It's like I was concerned about like, okay, so when you die, if you've done whatever in your life, right?
Yeah.
You've done whatever your life.
Sure.
If you die, the headline reads, for me, it's like,
yeah.
Ex-Teen Heartthrob, or like, guy from Victorious. That's the headline.
Right.
And am I okay with that concept?
Yeah, he does a whole poem on this.
Yeah, and
it's basically like your in memoriam.
Yeah, like what that means,
Yeah.
right? And I think what I would say to those people is that remember that your life is more than just a one aspect, and of it. You were, if I get to the end of my life and I was a good father, a brother that my brother could rely on, a partner that could support my partner through hard times, that is a better amalgamation of who I am as a person, and that's what I are putting my value on. I can't change the way that I'm perceived publicly, and nor should you try.
All right, we're gonna do one last one. I want to give this as an ode to your parents. On page 95, there's this poem where you write, there's two types of kids that get into acting on children's television: church kids and tiny little freaks. Go ahead and guess which one I was. So you were a
Tiny little freak.
but you had great parents.
I had great parents.
Yeah.
I was very lucky. Yeah, and I think the reason why Tiny Little Freaks don't spin out is because the ones that don't spin out will have great parents, and I have the best parents.
That's awesome, man. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
They really, in all these interviews and all these, they don't get enough credit, and I've never met your parents, but shout out to them, like truly.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, man.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Cool.
Hurry right away, no delay, stop the day. Make your daddy glad to have had